Thanks, Bob. You see these maps up here? You know what this is? These are all from 2008, isn't that correct?
That's right.
Foreclosure filings in 2008 in the major cities in the CIOP area.
That ain't right.
You can look at the concentrations of these things, and you can see that neighborhoods, particular neighborhoods, are especially hard hit. When you know these cities, you can identify what neighborhoods these are. Some of you live in these neighborhoods. It's not just the individual homes or homeowners that are affected, but whenever you live in a neighborhood where there are foreclosures, your property values go down as well. And whenever a community experiences foreclosures and decreasing property values, the tax base for those municipalities and school districts that rely on property tax, they're also affected. And there's some material on that poster over there that talks about the impact on the tax base of foreclosures. Folks, we're in a time of crisis. And I don't think that's news to anyone. But remember, crisis is a combination of danger and opportunity. Well, these maps portray the danger that we're in. But it's also an opportunity in terms of organizing. Julie spoke eloquently about what organizing can mean for individuals. Rather than someone having to face these issues in isolation, if we organize, if we function as a community of people, we can give each other the support that we need to try to get through this and try to figure out solutions. There are some people here who are borrowers who would like to be able to talk with counselors or other resource people in Central Illinois about their situations. I'd like the counselors and anyone involved in helping folks do workouts to stand right now, just so people can see who you are. In different communities, we have different resource people. And before you sit down, I'd like you to identify what group you're with and what city you're in. Can you just do that around the room?
Sure. I'm Janice Parker. My organization is Central Illinois Debt Management and Credit Education. We are in Springfield, Decatur, and Danville, Peoria, Princeton, and Galesburg.
Thank you.
Becky Pruitt with the Attorney General's Office here in Springfield and involved in the efforts that Brenda referenced earlier.
I'm Cheryl Boswell. We're in Peoria, and we do credit counseling and public counseling.
And is there anyone else? Okay, well, thank you. So there are some resource people here that actually do this kind of work frequently. And Brenda talked about the service that she's been performing out of Chicago. In addition to that, there are pastors here, and there are other congregational leaders. This kind of stuff is tough for people to deal with, and the emotional support and the congregational support that people can get and the pastoral support that people can get is also terribly important. This is not easy to work through. CIOP is a vehicle, especially for congregations, but also other organizations as well, to come together and to work together on issues. So it is an organizing opportunity. People and groups don't have to be dealing with these issues in isolation. So on a local level, just getting people in touch with potential resources and providing support is important. To some extent, your local legal aid offices may also be able to help in certain cases. It's not that they can deal with the whole volume of everything that's out there, but in some cases, through either their own staff attorneys or volunteer attorneys, they can be useful. I think local bar associations should be challenged to respond to this crisis. and to help recruit pro bono attorneys or low-fee attorneys that can help deal with some of these issues. In McLean County, Bloomington Normal, we've approached the chief judge of the circuit with an idea of using the model of what's happened in Philadelphia to institute a plan of compulsory mediation of foreclosure cases. That's a hard sell, and we haven't made a lot of progress. We've just basically raised the issue. But I think that through organizing, there's at least a chance of floating some of these ideas and getting decision makers to pay some attention. There are also other things that we need to be involved in our organizing. Some of the rhetoric these days with this rescue plan has been to the effect, oh, this has been caused by the Community Reinvestment Act. CIOP is part of, and by the way, that ain't right.
That ain't right. And Jack, we have a handout on that in the back.
Okay, there's some more material there. The Community Reinvestment Act actually came out of organizations like CIOP, long before CIOP existed, but organizations around the country, starting with the work in Chicago. It was an anti-redlining bill. It required financial institutions to serve the whole range of people in the communities, not just affluent people, but people of all different income levels and especially racial minorities, to give them access to good loan products. Nobody in CRA never required lenders and brokers to be putting junk onto people. The idea was that people should have access to the same kind of good products at their own income level as anyone else. CRA is not to blame for this crisis. So one thing that we can do is to challenge that rhetoric, if we ever hear that in our communities, trying to put the blame on individual borrowers or this Community Reinvestment Act. If the federal government is now going to become the owner of a huge number of these loans, we need to have access to the policymakers as they try to figure out how they're going to do this. And one of the things that we need to do as an organization, working with our counterparts around the country, is to push very hard that community representatives be at the table as they're trying to figure out their policies. How are they going to deal with the loans, especially a lot of the loans based in part on fraud or over-appraisals or any other kind of predatory feature? How are they going to realistically deal with borrowers and reduce the principal, taking into account the fraud component of a lot of loans? So there are other topics that we need to be discussing with these people, the Treasury or whoever's going to be managing this whole program. So there's a lot to do at the local level, and there's also, we need to be part of national coalition working on this. So how are we doing on time, Bob? Does anyone want to add some other suggestion of what we need to be doing in terms of organizing? There's plenty of challenge and there's plenty of opportunity, but now more than ever, we ought to be coming together. We can be recruiting other congregations in our community or other organizations and building our organization so we're more effective.
I was going to mention something about the compulsory mediation situation. When I talked to our city attorney, they thought that it really needed to come from the state as a mandate from the state rather than individual cities.
And we've heard that too, and the chief judge of our circuit wants to look for some kind of Supreme Court mandate. But one of our trial judges, who was very involved in instituting a mediation program in custody disputes, has explained to us how a trial judge can control his or her docket in a way that mediation can be built in without permission of the Supreme Court. So these are issues to work on. We don't have any great solution or answer right now, but we're working on it.